everyone. We have participants jumping in. You guys will have to forgive me. I am doing a webinar today with the NASA organization, which is the Nevada Association of School Administrators. And so that goes from 10 to 12. And so I jumped off of that to jump into these and be with you all today. Super excited. My dear friend Anna is joining us today as a panelist, and I am going to bring a few other people on to join us. So this is one of the unique things about Magnificent Mondays. Happy Magnificent Monday, everyone. You notice I'm in a different studio in our home. Kendall is downstairs still doing the webinar. We're talking about virtual education best practices with the NASA organization. And so now I jumped up here into a portion of our bedroom to be able to connect with all of you today. Those of you that are sharing homes with your quarantine understand that if both of you are working from home, it becomes a juggling act sometimes. So super fun. Anna, I am super excited you're here today. I am going to go ahead and start promoting a few other people to panelists, because what I love most about Magnificent Mondays is that it is truly just a fun conversation that we get to have. And so you and I are going to guide them through levels of consciousness and the whole journey that it is today. And I'm loving your background. So it's awesome.
It's not virtual.
It's not virtual.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And you and Melissa haven't had a chance to meet. Melissa and I are business partners within Educator Dynamics, as well as the nonprofit Genius School US. So we do a lot of fun work together. She also has her company, Epic Love, where she, I can't even describe what you do. She is a holistic human coach, really guiding people to live their best lives and create just an epic experience for themselves. So, and then the work that you do, Anna, and I did actually miss your bio, so I wasn't able to include that for everyone, so you can add to this. But Anna and I met through, excuse me, our global, frog in my throat, I've been talking all morning. Anna and I met through a global network called Entrepreneurs Institute, and really just hit it off during the Crystal Circle community, which is the high-level mentor group that Entrepreneurs Institute started, and it's all around up-leveling ourselves as entrepreneurs and learning and growing within this global community. And Anna really helps entrepreneurs early on in their journey really follow their path of least resistance to success. And so Anna has a depth of knowledge and wisdom that she's going to share with us today. And we're going to go through the levels of consciousness that I've talked about before, and different pieces and parts. So today's going to be lots of fun. So Anna, do you want to add any more to your bio, a little bit more about your background? And
Sure. Yeah. So I'm laughing because your speaker last week has the same background, but I was a broke art major, and I became a financial advisor for 5 years. And then I sold that business and was a stay-at-home mom for a while and was an event consultant. And anyway, my business right now for the last 3 years is as a conscious business coach. And so I help people leverage their genius and really be able to focus their energy. So that's a lot of the conversation today on the levels of consciousness and really crush it in their businesses.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Super excited to have you. And so welcome everyone, as you guys are all able now to join in on video. And super excited to see all of your lovely faces on this Monday. Happy Memorial Day, sending lots of love and heartfelt gratitude to all of those who have served and who have lost their lives. Definitely want to take a moment of gratitude for that, and wrapping all of you as fellow loved ones who are really taking this day as a day of remembrance, to wrap you all in virtual hugs as well. So thank you all for being here with us on Memorial Day. And let's kind of dive in. So we start everything with gratitude, as I do all the time. So I want to hear what are you each most grateful for from what you were able to do to, quote unquote, and I know it's quotes, close out this school year. What are you most proud of or grateful for that you and your school teams were able to do last week. Here in Nevada, we closed out our schools last week. So what are you most proud of or grateful for? And either type it in the chat or go ahead and come off of mute and share. What are you most grateful for that you and your teams were able to do? Audra, do you want to share? Audra, I think you might be.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Sorry. I think I'm the most proud of my team. There's 3 people in my department, and we found a way to coincide being in the space and shutting everything down. And it was weird. It was really weird, but we got through it. So
yeah, good stuff, being in it together. Who else? Christiana, do you want to share? Oh, you're on mute.
I think that just like being able to still be a community as we closed out the year, like we still met, my department and I still met and like talked about things and kind of planned for next year and started making plans for that. So like that was kind of nice to still have that camaraderie. We spend a lot of time together, so it's something we definitely missed. So it was nice.
That's fantastic. Ingrid, I love it. I'm grateful for the relationships that deepened with my students and their families. So beautiful. And the teamwork among admin and staff. That's fantastic. Awesome, awesome. Ward, do you want to share?
I'm grateful for how our staff came together to really support our students at the end of the year. The staff got together. We did a 5th grade promotion parade and online graduations for the kindergartner kids and whatnot. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. Love it, love it. Tammy, do you want to share? Just what are you grateful for kind of as the school year closed out and the things that you were able to see?
You know, it was nice to see all the community work and then all the stuff that we were doing. And then they did a profile of all the things that the children had done in all the different grades. So they created a little video. And so we all got to see some of the lessons that we had been delivering online and then have it all come into form. So yeah, it's been amazing to watch everybody pull together and really support each other through this process.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Anyone else want to share, whether it's your school team or other team? Anyone else? And I see Dirk, that you might be jumped off with technology. Totally fine. Totally fine. It's all good, Dirk. So Dirk is joining us from South Africa. So, and it is middle of the night for you. So thank you for being here. Love it, love it. All right, so as we get started, I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you jumping in and being a part of this conversation. And I want to know when I talk about levels of consciousness, what comes up for you? What do you think about when I say levels of consciousness? And either unmute or type in the chat box. What comes up for you when I say levels of consciousness? Dirk, go ahead.
For me, what comes up to me is a level of awareness of my surroundings, also awareness within myself, and the ability to observe. And the more I'm observing, I'm more becoming aware, and the more I'm having conscious about what is and what is around.
I love it. Love it, love it. Who else wants to chime in?
When I think of levels of consciousness, I think of self, my higher self, and then I also think of world, right? So connection to the whole planet and as we're all one, and then my higher self, and tapping into that we on a spiritual level are all connected and trying to tap into my higher best self within me. so that we can, as a global planet, connect to each other's best self. And so ultimately create this utopiary, amazing world in all of us trying to do our best, not be the best, but just do our best collectively.
Right. Love it. And Ingrid, things that I'm aware of and things that go deeper that I may not be conscious of in the present moment. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Anyone else? And Ingrid, you're on mute if you were trying to add in. There you are.
Hi.
Hi. Did you want to add anything else?
No.
Okay, perfect. Adrian, the conscious and subconscious. Got it. Love it. And I know we've talked about that before. Melissa and I have talked about the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. And so unconscious or subconscious can kind of be interchanged, and really tapping into understanding that our conscious brain, and there's different studies out there, anywhere from 5 to 15% is conscious. Everything else is in the unconscious repetitive brain. And we're going to talk about the different levels of consciousness as we grow and evolve as humans. And so the levels of consciousness, to me, is really about being in this state of growth and evolution, understanding that there is no arrival, that it's all about this evolution. And when I hold it lightly, especially for myself, in terms of evolution, then it becomes obtainable. It's not this far-fetched thing where it's like, oh, someday I'll get there. No, it's about evolving and understanding that we're all at different levels of consciousness at different times during the day even, let alone overall. And so the more that we can create sustainable habits to actually live a more conscious life, a more intentional life, or as I like to say, a life more on purpose, that we can then be able to create our future with intention versus being victims and being on our heels with things that come at us. Not to say that things can't derail us from time to time, but that we're more able to deal with it as it does come, and being able to bring things more into our conscious mind and be more intentional about, even from the very moment that we wake up, is, and that's one of the things that I do as part of my gratitude practice, is the moment I recognize that I've started thinking that I have alert thoughts. They're no longer dreams, they're alert thoughts. And I recognize that I'm awake, is that I intentionally make them something that I'm grateful for. So whatever those first thoughts are, and sometimes it's just that I'm grateful for my pillow. And I start there, but it's again, that's a level of consciousness and really taking charge of, I'm in charge of what goes on up here. I'm not plugged into some mainframe computer somewhere. And those of you that are old enough to remember what a mainframe computer is, some are not. When I say that to kids, they're like, a what? So you might have to explain that a little bit. Yeah, Audra, proactive versus reactive. Absolutely, absolutely. And Anna, so in your experience, as you help entrepreneurs really grow their levels of consciousness, what do you often see as kind of their level of definition of what levels of consciousness are?
Like how they define it? Mm-hmm. So that's a very interesting question. There's people who just get it. Like if I say, hey, I work with conscious entrepreneurs, they're like, oh, that means highly self-aware, you're living life by design, not by default. And then if anyone's like, what? Then they're living more in, it has to be defined. And then once it's defined, they're like, oh yeah, I get that. Or I would say about half at least they're not unconscious, they're just not thinking about it. A little bit unconscious, but it's more, there's more of a pattern. If you're really into personal growth, then you by default tend to be more conscious.
Right. And it is that personal growth, right? It's that personal and professional growth. And that's one of the gaps that I noticed in education when I started working with schools about 10 years ago, is that there was this gap between the level of personal development connection to professional development in the system of education that is different in the corporate world. In the corporate world, there's a lot more personal development connected to professional development. And the lines are very blurry and they're almost synonymous, right? Whereas in the field of education, they're super separate. And so understanding that bringing that level of consciousness and you know, personal growth into professional development is in some ways cutting edge within the system of education.
Or what's not necessary, but not, that's not the word, but vital. Like it's an imperative. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Dirk is asking a question, what about the level of super consciousness? So Dirk, do you want to add some more meat to your question, and Anna can help?
Yeah, I think consciousness is what we normally operate within. Then you have your subconscious, which is very much coming from past experiences, programs, routines that we've picked up along the way, and that plays up now and then. Then there is also the collective consciousness. That is not that we are aware of the whole population, the civilization, that also have a way of doing things that's imprinted through us indirectly. And then you have the super consciousness, which is where your higher level of being lives. That's where you connect with a higher level of unknowing as such. Intuitively, yes. Sensory, indirectly, yes. So we must also be aware of that level of consciousness, which gives us purpose, the why. It's the consciousness of spirit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That we also have that is the super consciousness to also guide us and work with us as dealing also with the other consciousnesses.
Yeah, Dirk, so vital to talk about those different levels. And as we talk today, we're going to talk about the individual as well as the collective. And part of the super is on the individual level, but it's also on the collective, as we, as a whole planet going through this crisis together, are evolving at a rapid pace because of it, right? Yeah. So, Anna, are you ready? Let's dive in, and I'll share my screen, and let's kind of talk at the base level so that everyone can kind of see the diagram. And so I put this together last year with the works of several different thought leaders out there. I combine them, and I tend to do this with a lot of different infographics that I create. Is I scan all the different thought leaders that are really saying a lot of the same things, and I try to synthesize it into a more simplified, hey, you're all kind of saying the same thing, this is more common language to it. And so I'm going to go ahead and share so that everyone can see this, and hopefully it will be clear enough. Can everyone see it? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So the pieces of this that I want to talk most about is understanding that it's not about arrival. It's truly about the evolution. And so, Anna, if you want to kind of take us through, let's start at the base down here, where we were talking about this and how the unconscious mind or subconscious mind works. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So in general, there's like a shift that happens from red to orange. So if you kind of imagine an imaginary line, and everything below that line, you could say is still in that victim consciousness or unconsciousness. Things are happening to you. And then once you can flip into the other side, then you start to generate yourself, no matter what circumstances are happening, right? Nelson Mandela being stuck in jail for 30 years, Martin Luther King, et cetera, many different leaders out there that have demonstrated this on a more extreme scale. And so from that yellow level above is where you could start being the source of your own power and your own consciousness. Below that, this is on a team basis, but also on an individual basis, it's more you're using force to get things that you need versus above that threshold, it's more about power, like personal power and being able to create with that. So there's a really a similar, like, I love how you condense this, David. This is beautiful. And I love how it's adapted to a team-based environment, right? And a lot of times I work with my clients, we do it on a more individual basis where we're looking at the map of consciousness that's from Dr. David Hawkins, and that measures your lux level, which they actually like hook people up and figured out that when you're in like the red space of the fear, like the electromagnetic field that your heart sends out is very shrunken, or, and it grows and expands as you go up. And as Sandy was saying, it's not a place of arrival, it's a journey that breathes. So you go up and down the scale. You can go multiple times a day or even in a minute, even right now in this conversation. As you get triggered by something, right, you might go down into fear, and then you're like, oh wait, it's okay, and then you rise back up, right? Or you might be surrounded by people, and then you rise in consciousness that way.
Beautiful. And so when we talk about this, let's stick in the fear-based culture, and let's talk about our schools. And just to kind of use it, and if you're watching live on Facebook, you can reference this to any organization, but we're going to focus this conversation on schools kind of as a workplace. And so if we think about our schools as a workplace, and those schools that are living in a fear-based culture, where it is more about crisis management and reactionary survival. And we saw several schools with this global pandemic drop into a fear-based culture right away. And so some of the things that showed up during that fear-based time, the initial, like, oh my gosh, we're in crisis management, everything is coming at us. It's that reactionary survival mode. We saw a lot of victim mentality, a lot of struggle, very high stress, a lot of anxiety, some blame started to happen. It was very chaotic. Those of you that were very, very in tune with those school cultures, do you want to share a little bit about what that was like? And go ahead and unmute if you'd like to kind of share what did that feel like as an individual to be a part of that fear-based culture? Any of you that have lived in a fear-based culture?
I don't mind offering something.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I won't say our school was the school itself was in a fear-based culture, but we definitely experienced some staff that went straight there.
Okay.
And they were really, really terrified, and ended up actually, being so aggressive, so stuck in their ways, negative, running ideas down. So it really was just from us as management, just being open and actually giving them a platform to say, let's hear what your fears are, what are your concerns, and really making sure that we give them step-by-step instructions for everything, so that they basically nearly didn't have to do anything. They would just climb onto this train and go along and feel safe there. And then slowly but surely, I think we've been in this process now for 5-6 weeks. I'd say maybe out of 50, there's about 2 or 3 that are still there, but a lot of them have managed to move into the yellow and the green phase. And I must say, though, interesting enough, not one of them went into the blame. That was really, I think it was because our leaders were so proactive, and our main focus was the safety of the staff. But it was interesting to see that from a school which is normally quite innovative, to have staff members that you don't expect it of, to just lose it completely. Yeah. So yeah, that's my little contribution.
Carly, thank you. And if you'll let us know where you are actually from, so that everyone can know.
Oh, okay. I'm also I'm from South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Welcome. I'm so happy you were able to join us. It's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And yeah, so as you started talking about that, it kind of lends itself to the conversation around the blame-based culture, right? Where we're at that orange level. And this is where it's very ego dependent, and you end up in relationship management. And so in order to connect with people who are in that fear-based space, you go into the relationship management, as you were describing. It's like, we need to really hold their hand through every step of the process. And that is relationship management, right? You're very deliberate about the pieces and parts to help that relationship. So usually what you'll see is leaders have to get to one level above where the staff might be in order to then pull them up, and then the leaders can move up to the next level in order to help the whole team kind of stair step up the ladder to grow to the collective school culture getting there. So, so yeah, thank you so much for that. And Audra's chiming in. Love it. Audra, I so appreciate your honesty and vulnerability in sharing this, because I would tend to agree that a lot of schools really live in that red zone most often. In the schools that I've worked with, if you look at schools on the whole and you look at the system of education, right? You know, you're always facing this dramatic change, whether it's budget, whether it's, you know, society's valuing of us, or really constantly almost taking things away from your disposal as educators. And the more often you feel the need to shift, the more you don't have any certainty or control in your life, or the perception of certainty or control. And that's one of the things, as we talk about levels of consciousness. Anna, what do you guide your entrepreneurs to really to think through, versus being in that space where they're actually trying to grasp onto what they can control and find some certainty? What are some tools and strategies that you use to help them get out of that?
So perfect. So the first thing I have to share with them is, you know, chaos and trying to control what is uncontrollable and do something with the uncertainty, that's like futile, right? Like the only thing certain is the uncertainty. And whether it was during this time of pandemic or any time, life's always been uncertain.
Yeah.
Always. So you do have a choice how to respond, right? So the first like strategy or tip here is just, you have to embrace the chaos, like expect it, like that's just the state of how things are, and not judge it or blame it. I mean, even chaos is a judgment per se, because things are just happening as they're happening. But, you know, a lot of, especially if you, my sister's a teacher, so I've followed her path this whole time, and I'm now a teacher, I feel like, as a homeschool teacher with my 8-year-old. For those that came online and didn't meet who I was. So that's the first thing, is just being able to be with what's actually happening. And then only then can you really move on into like just accept that life is messy, and then look at what in this present moment are you feeling or thinking. So a lot of times we do on the spot coaching around whatever it is that they're challenged with, and we go very micro and granular into, okay, great, well, where is that pain in your body? Because how you speak, and then what pain and tension is happening in your body, if you can bring your awareness from out here into your body, and then feel where that pain is inside, that begins to then point to working through it, right? And so, for example, a client had, I'm scrolling through different examples. She went to fear one time when she was trying to hire someone new, because we didn't know why, because this person was a very overachieving kind of person and knows what to do to hire somebody and has had many staff, yet there was this procrastination happening. And so when we started looking under it, like, well, why haven't you taken the actions and so forth? What got uncovered was, you know, there was just massive fear that if she hires someone and invests so much in them, and then they leave and then they go become a competitor, right? That's gonna, like, what's the point? And so in that moment, I was just able to say, like, no, she's not your competitor. She is your legacy. I mean, what bigger compliment could there be in this world, right? To be able to shift and be in an abundant mindset and collaborative mindset, where every single person that you are training, no matter where they go, or if they leave or take all your stuff, it doesn't matter, because that's your legacy in the world. Like, what greater compliment is that? Anyway, so once that mindset could shift, she jumped levels, like you could say, from a red to a green, and literally within 24 hours had taken like 30 different actions and had interviews lined up and hired her next person, which is still threw her through all this mess and madness, whereas a lot of the other stuff wasn't there. So anyways, that's pretty cool. But yeah, for all of you, like as educators, like really looking at how you speak, even when no one's looking, it will indicate to you what level you're at. And then how you feel and the tension in your body, where that's located. If you can ask, I don't know how in depth you want me to go through. I can go through a little exercise with him right now, but like.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So the first thing is, when consciousness is energy. So first, I want us all just to get present to our own energy. So we're just gonna do a little bit of exercising here. So if you just put, so first I'm gonna bring, if your thoughts are out here, I'm gonna bring them in. We're just gonna do a simple exercise, a 1-minute brain exercise. And this is actually something you can do in your classes that helps students, or, you know, if you're taking tests, reduce anxiety. These have been tested in actually lots of schools in El Salvador, actually, and where there's lots of gang violence and a lot of red culture. And through doing these little 1-minute exercises and things, they've been able to bump up to yellow, green, right? So put your hands out like this, or knuckles out, good. And then you put a thumb out and a pinky out. So have your thumb point outward, and then you're gonna switch. If you can go back and forth. And what's happening right now is your brain's left and right hemisphere is becoming one and integrating, which helps prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, but it also helps students and yourself as teachers and educators be able to focus, have some fun, laugh a little bit, smile, which then sends out signals to your pineal gland.
Okay. I'm like, wait, which one? Is anyone else struggling with this?
So if you're struggling, you can start with one side and then just go like this, tuck them both in, and then do the other side. Tuck in.
I'm trying to do both at the same time.
Like dancing.
And that I can't do well either.
You can do it. You're doing great.
I can do it.
All of you are doing great. Let me actually open so I can see. I can only see like 5 people. There we go. Okay, good. So that's one exercise, right? So now you're kind of like in the moment, right? You're like, what's happening with my hands?
Tammy, you're doing exactly what I'm doing. We're going, wait. Left and right hemispheres are going like this.
And does anybody feel a little hotter in your body? Who feels a little warmer or hotter? If you don't, that's okay. Okay, good. So then we want to heat the core up a little bit more. So then now we're going to bring it down. So we kind of went in here, and now we're going to bring your awareness down. So if you put both hands on your stomach like this, thumbs in your belly button, and then like this, just lay it. Don't push. Make a little heart. Okay, this is called intestinals. So a lot of times, if you go ahead and suck in your belly button to your spine, like a crunch sitting up, kind of. Woo! So your gut is your second brain, right? It's got, I want to say 2/3 as the same mirror neurons as your brain. And it also has 95% of where serotonin, your happiness hormone, is produced, and 75% of dopamine, your joy hormone. So we really want to take care of these guts, but we normally totally neglect them. Yes, Melissa's like, that's what, yes, absolutely, right? Gut health is so huge. And so when you're doing this, not only is there these health benefits of moving around the blood and the oxygen and getting more energy flow and unsticking all your blockages and toxins inside, but what's also happening is you're activating your brain in new ways that are actually producing new hormones. And when you do that, do you guys feel it heating up? You're pushing through the food that if it just sits there all day, when you might be sitting around now, especially on Zoom a lot, it becomes toxin. So as I'm still talking right now, you can do this when you're in a checkout line, you can do this when you're in the car, anywhere. And if you just even do 10 minutes a day, that then brings the energy all the way down to your core. And there's a water up, fire down principle, which this all is related to upping your consciousness. So typically with hot heads, and we have cold guts, so it's hard to go to the bathroom. We don't go regularly. And so what this is doing right now is bringing that hot energy in your head and all that thinky energy down into your core, which then raises your immunity because your body temperature goes up by a degree, and then your kidneys cool off your head. So you have a calm, cool mind and a hot core. And when you're doing this, you become more present and more conscious to be able to manage and handle hard decisions that are coming your way. Are we, in my son's school case, are we going to keep the school open? Can we even survive? Because he goes to a private school. And as educators, this is something you can even do, with your staff or with your class, right? And it's just a quick minute. Anyway, so that's another little one. There's lots of ones, but I'll stop there. But anyway, so when we're going, the last one I'll do, sorry, one more, is when you go into then your emotion. So now what's happening is, how many of you are hotter? Anybody a little bit warmer? Okay, good. If you're not, that's okay. You can just keep going. I do it like 1,000 of these days. You can start with just 100 though, build up to 1,000 to 3,000. And then all that we just did was building up to now be able to address emotions, which is the consciousness where it lives a lot of times is in the emotion. So now your body's receptive, your cells are open. And what can happen is we can do a body scan. So you just close your eyes and feel in your body now, where is there tension? Maybe some neck pain, maybe a slight throbbing headache, some stiff hips. For some of you, it's not necessarily physical tension, it's emotional, unwanted emotions. So you might feel like, you might notice, oh, I'm just kind of groggy or tired or sad. Maybe there's some unprocessed grief from the collective or from someone just recently passing. And just scan your body from the top. Notice if your jaws are clenched and come all the way down through your neck to your chest. We hold a lot of tension in our chest. And just pick an area. Pick an area that either has some tension or pain, or that you just sense there's an emotion. Just nod if you have that place, that pain physically or emotionally. Just nod. If you don't, just keep looking. Okay, and then once you have that emotion or pain, go to it and figure out exactly where is it located in your body, if it's an emotion. And if it's a pain, obviously it's just zero in exactly. Is it under the shoulder? Is it on the right or left side? Just kind of pinpoint into the pain. Keep breathing. Good, you're doing great. And then what shape is that pain or unwanted emotion? What color is it? What texture is it? It might be like cotton candy or like goo or sticky tar. And what's the movement of that unwanted emotion or pain in your body? Is it spastic? Is it just stuck and heavy, dense? Okay, so open your eyes really quickly, and anybody want to share just where is it, what is it? So what's the pain? Is it emotional or physical? And then where is it in your body? It actually might be easier if I'm working with one person. They can follow along, but.
Audra, do you want to share? Is that you raising your hand?
Oh, I think I turned my video off.
You did, but we can hear you.
Okay. So it's funny. I have, like, my husband has been feeling this recently after he lost his job, and then I started feeling it. I don't know if it was like, you know, like when one person's pregnant, the other one feels pregnancy pains, but just kind of this weird lump in my throat. And he's actually attributed it to acid reflux, but it really does. It just feels like no matter what I was thinking about, I do have pains, but I keep going back to this feeling of a lump in my throat where I feel blocked. And I had all of the identifying factors that you shared, where it was like, it does feel like cotton candy. It does feel like goo. It does feel like, it's almost like depending on how I'm feeling at the moment, but it's just this, it's still a block, like the word and the shape block. It's just kind of bizarre. I didn't think about it until.
And what color was it? And was it moving?
Well, honestly, it looks a lot like, if I to describe it, it's like the stuff behind you, that kind of cosmos looking.
Okay. It's multicolored. Okay, good. Awesome. So we're going to move through it. So I just want to make sure everybody was on the same page and you could locate the place. Okay, good. Excellent, Audra. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to do a quick share of where the pain or the emotion was? Tammy, did you feel anything in your body?
So yeah, mine was like felt like a circle, red, and just kind of strong and tight. That's normally where I get it. And then also I've been having knee pain and I don't know, and I've never had that before. So when I've been riding my bike and things like that recently. So But what came up in this was that right here, my right behind, and just felt like a circle, tight red, and like throbbing.
Perfect. Okay, good. I just want you guys to see a few different examples. So just pick one area. Don't go to your knee. Just do your back, or whichever one's more pronounced. It'll help with the other one. Okay, good. So we're going to keep going, so I don't want to leave you at the pain. We've now hyper-focused into it. Okay. Okay, good. So if you can't, just get grounded again. Place your feet on the, feel your feet on the ground and take a few deep breaths and close your eyes if you'd like. It's easier if you close your eyes to sense. And then now I want you to go to a happy memory. Sometime that it could be any time recently or far, far in the past, but something that has a very vivid, visceral, like, that feels really good. Who are you? Who's with you? Where are you? What's happening? And how do you feel? And then let that feeling, it's joy or warmth, comfort, just saturate your whole body in that feeling. Just imagine it washing all over you, down to your tiptoes and your fingertips and your top of your head. Great. Now you're gonna go back to the pain. You can even ask it permission sometimes if there's any resistance, like, hey, do you mind if I hang out with you for a minute? Talking to the pain, either of the unwanted emotion or the physical pain. And then now again, where is it? Where is that pain located? What color is it? What texture? What movement? Good. And then for some of you, you may notice, I do this a lot with people, that it has shifted a little bit. Maybe that pain in Tammy's back is a little different color. It turned orange, or it just started, instead of being as shockingly pronounced, it's a little more like this. Okay, good. So go ahead and open your eyes again. And anybody, did it shift? You can go back and forth to that happy memory and then back here as long as you'd like. But even just in one round, a lot of times there's already a shift. Some people who process energy super, super fast, it'll disappear. You're not trying to get it to disappear. You're just being with it. All you're doing is allowing that those bad emotions or bad pains that seemingly are from the red level, you're just allowing them. And by allowing them, like if you think of it like a guest knocking at your door, you're just, okay, you can come in, you can sit down. I'm not going to let you talk the whole time, but yes, say what you need to say. Okay. And you're not like, get out of here, stop. They're not, but if you try to do that and not let them in, then they bang louder, on the door. So we just want to allow our pain. And when you do that, that helps you jump consciousness levels very quickly, very, very, very quickly. But for anybody curious with Audra and Tammy, when you went back, had it shifted at all? Audra, what was it like now, or did it shift color or movement or shape?
That's bizarre. It feels like it's shifted to the right of my throat, like just kind of like moved out of the way.
Yeah.
But
good.
It was,
great.
Like it's still there, but it's like
if you keep working with it, it'll flow. It'll
like giving it permission to be, which is such a funny thing because I'm a theater teacher, so I'm totally, the idea of like how we feel and manifest and things before we perform, and I'm just like, I have an intense imagination, but I'm not joking. This weirdness of just knowing not only did it shift to the side, but it just kind of feels like kind of a royal blue. I don't even know.
Yeah, and the color shifts too. It's crazy. It just.
Yeah.
Yep. What about you? Awesome. Great work, Audra. And then Tammy, what about for you?
Yeah, it was weird because when I was thinking about the joy, I was having a hard time even feeling it there anymore. And then the color that came to me was purple. Oh. And then when I was concentrating on where it didn't have a shape anymore. It was just diffused. Yeah.
Oh, good. so that's, you guys are perfect examples. It's so great. Great work, both of you. What you can eat, it's funny, your colors even shifted, right? You had this red survival thing, and then when you just allowed it and added your good juju and joy, it became the top of the consciousness of purple, and it diffused, right? Essentially, you kind of disappeared it in this moment. So that's the power we have, that each of you did that, right? As an individual, and you can bring that into any environment, even whether you're alone or in a team, as Sandy said. So Sandy probably has some great ways that can be integrated, right, on a team level, or cultural level, of ways that you can do this. But it starts with the individual. So when you're able to do that, it ripples out, right? Your class will feel it. Everyone else will as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Anna, so much. That was beautiful. Yay. I love it. I love it. And like we talked about before this, is like exactly what we're meant to share will come on Magnificent Mondays. It's like what everyone is meant to take away, they'll take away, and they'll leave what doesn't serve them. And that's the beauty of these calls, is we all get to just show up and give and share and connect and collaborate as conscious educators to make the difference we're meant to make. And understanding when we are personally stuck in red or in orange or even in yellow, we have these blocks around us. And as you notice, as I scroll through this, we've got the fear and ego happening in the red and the orange, and that blame or fear-based culture. And when we're in those environments around us, it really feels stifling, and it feels, I often describe it where I see educators, they walk around like they have a vice grip around their head, where they have no sense of their own value, their own power, what they bring to the table. And Adrian, you talking about the paycheck and personal growth not being attached to you as humans and as individuals, is all kind of outside professional, what you're delivering. And yet the shift that's happening in education is understanding that it is all connected, because when you show up as healthy, happy humans, and we make our schools a great place to work, then they will be a great place to learn, because you guys are the most passionate, amazing group of humans on the planet that want to give and take care of and teach our students on a daily basis. It's what you would do if it weren't about the money, because that's not why you got into it. You didn't get into education for the money. You got into it to actually live your passion and your purpose and your soul. And you're all doing that right now. You're doing that in a way because you had to pivot, and you went through this trauma and this identity shift in a heartbeat that you weren't anticipating. And so, Carolee, you're right. It threw a lot of people into fear or into blame that they weren't even aware of, when normally maybe they were in more that green or that blue level on a regular basis. But it just, the identity shift that happened almost overnight because of this pandemic, and the way that the systems of education had to respond to it, it did create a lot of trauma. And so some of that trauma is going to be unresolved unless we actually deal with it as individuals and as educators. And to be able to connect with our teammates, and Audra, to your question, can you use this with other people in how we see our team members and being in pain? And the answer is asking for permission, is not to be able to say, hey, you're in pain, I need to fix you. Because we all know that doesn't work with anyone, right? But to invite and to say, are you okay if I share something with you that I learned? And can we practice together? That's,
I think what I meant more than anything, I don't know if anybody experiences this, but like this idea of like, it is my perception of this person, like from point A to point, that I wouldn't involve them in this discussion, but it's my perception of them, that when they're behaving in a difficult manner, I'm wondering if that could be perceived, because it causes me pain when I deal with these situations. And Anna, what were you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can hear by the way you're speaking, Audra, you're probably empathic, highly empathic, so you absorb other people's energy easily. Yeah? Anybody else can relate? A lot of teachers are. Natural trait. There's a couple other techniques, but so no is kind of my short answer, in that you can only work on you, as just like Sandy was saying, or ask permission of them. Absolutely. The pain that they're causing you, right, would be kind of a red level way of thinking of it, kind of a victim to them, right? But what I think you're actually asking intuitively is, like just how to cope with people that are a pain, kind of. Yeah. Anybody in that situation too? Got that one person, you're like, ugh. Okay. So with this exercise, that stress that you have might then be located into your body that you can then work with on your own. Okay. Another way is you can imagine like a tube from your heart to their heart that you pour energy and love and like purple energy into. And that's just like meditate. It's just giving them like love and light. And it's kind of like prayers, you know, you're just wishing the best for them. And I find when you do that, you know, off on your own, that sometimes they magically like will be great with you. It's very cool how that works consciously. So try those. And then if you're actually in contact with them and the like barrage is happening of like bad juju, in that moment, you can do a vortex of a rose. Like picture a rose in front of you. So a lot of people talk about the energy bubble, which can take a lot of energy because when you make a bubble, you're like having to make the bubble. And that's like work, right? That helped with one client. He's like, I picture like the bubble in Jurassic Park where they're like the Tyrannosaurus trying to get in, but I've got my bubble. I thought that was a funny adaptation. But anyway, you can still do the bubble through your breath, but you can also imagine an energy vortex, which allows them to be the way they are, but it sucks up any negative stuff. Like picture the energy coming off of them, sucking up into that vortex. So it's not impacting you, but it's allowing them to be themselves. Versus this, when you make the bubble, nothing comes in, good or bad, right? Because you still want like the love to flow. Does that make sense? So just picture an energy vortex rose and all the negative crap, but then you still get all the love. Did that help answer that? Okay, good.
Yeah, I love it. And so many good nuggets of wisdom. And I know like we can talk about these levels of consciousness, and this is something that permeates throughout the years that I work with school leadership teams, and a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing in the Educator to Edupreneur Masterclass that's launching next month. And it's also something that will be launching in the Ed Leader Circle that will be launching in August, I believe, right, Melissa? In August, the Ed Leader Circle. So we're going to dive a lot into these details, and we don't have a lot of time. This graphic was on the newsletter. So make sure that if you don't receive our newsletter, you email Melissa, and she can type her email into the chat box so you guys can send Melissa an email if you are not getting our newsletter, and you'll have this infographic on there that really just shows that this is about stair-stepping through the levels of consciousness and understanding that as a leader, if you work on yourself and growing and evolving, that you're also helping your team grow and evolve, and that it is about stair-stepping. You don't go from red fear-based up into the cohesive values-aligned culture overnight. It actually takes time and evolution to work through these different layers of consciousness, different levels, and understanding that a lot of schools are even in that compliance culture driven space where it's just everyone's relying on themselves. You've got a lot of silos happening, and it's the intentional schools that are really living and designing their cultures on purpose, where it's about that innovation, that growth. We've got influential leadership happening. We've got the transformational development. You guys are feeling that sense of rhythm and growth and freedom, and the silos are kind of broken down. Have any of you worked in a culture like that you feel that innovation and that growth? And it's palpable, right? It's the full energy that the level of consciousness within the school community is in that space. And then, then you get into that values aligned culture where you've really got that inspirational leadership, and you've got this cohesive strength about you where you're really living the anatomy of trust. You've got that passion. People are living from that place of integrity. You can count on each other. You've got this interdependent relationship happening between the staff, and everyone's kind of showing up as the authentic, unique, amazing humans that they are. And so when you get to that place, it doesn't happen on accident. It happens with everyone really showing up with intention, because your cultures are the collective capacity of who everyone shows up as. There is no culture in an empty building. The culture of every school community is about the collective capacity of who every individual shows up as. And so when you have someone who's out of values alignment with the culture, and everyone else might be operating in green, and someone comes in and they're in orange or they're in yellow, and they're just kind of a thorn. They're not, they're throwing off the mojo. They may be the most skillful person in the world, but from a level of consciousness, from a values alignment fit, it's just not working. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person, and it doesn't mean that they can't grow and evolve. It just means that they're stuck for one reason or another. And so really understanding that every individual is doing the best they can with where they're at. And like Anna was saying, if we lead with love and grace and recognize that everyone's doing the best they can and really seek to find that beauty and that gift that they bring to the table, what is their inner genius? We talked about talent dynamics and the frequencies, and everyone has a dominant brain wired strength and how our brains are wired. And if we seek to find that strength and that beauty in each individual, then we can actually help them by them being open to receiving the positivity and the higher level of consciousness that we may be playing at that time. But if we're coming at them and only seeing how they irritate us or only seeing their flaws, then that's all that we're going to get out of them. But if we actually open ourselves up to see the best in them and understand they're doing the best they can with where they're at, and we may not know what's going on behind the scenes, and you all do this naturally with students. It's a matter of looking at each other as colleagues in a similar way and saying, hey, we're all just big kids. We're all big kids and we're all trying to figure it out on our own, right? So hold this with grace and with love and in a way where we actually lean in together, because the more that we bring other educators into this space of connecting on different levels of consciousness and doing it with intention, the more we can amplify the value of educators on this planet, and we can revolutionize education, because it's going to take us amplifying our own value in order to get there. And Christiana, you are absolutely right. You can't control or help anyone else. You just got to manage you, right? And we're in charge of what we can control, and that's us, and that's how we show up. And again, they're either going to be on the bus or they're not, and that's okay. If they're not here on the same journey with you, that's okay. Send them love and they'll be okay. If they're not meant to be on the same bus with you, that's okay. Again, they're not a bad person. It's truly just about honoring everyone where they're at and loving them where they're at, and knowing that they've got their own journey and they'll figure it out along the way. So any questions for Anna? Quick questions as we kind of wrap up here in the next 2 minutes. Any questions for Anna?
I just had a question. Have you experienced, like, at what level have you experienced the highest consciousness, whether it's been with a group or a community, or where you've walked in and you went, oh, wow, like this is it. Like, how high up have you reached or experienced personally in creating these kind of communities?
Ask that question again, because I've experienced cultures, all the way at, the indigo level.
Okay.
But in terms of school culture and where I start to see that shift, is that your question?
Yeah.
Where I start to see that is when they get to green, when they actually get to that growth mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So Carol, what's her last name? Carol, is it Dweb? Where she talks about the growth mindset. Is that her last name?
Yeah.
It's not in her head.
Right?
So she's talking about the growth mindset in order to get people out of compliance and into growth. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of steps that need to get people to even that level and then beyond it. But that's really, Dweck, thank you. That's when you start to see and feel the shift right when you walk into the building. Or when you join a virtual meeting with a team like that. I can feel the difference in a virtual environment with every different team that I'm coaching. It's palpable when you're with a team. Mm. So yeah, and I want to give you an opportunity. You've got some really cool stuff that you're doing, and any of you that are on this educator to edupreneur journey kind of on your own, even before we launch this course next month, you're already diving into this space and uncovering what's best for you right now. Anna's got a lot of great resources and tools. You can obviously visit her website, but Anna, do you have any other ways that they could connect with you?
Yeah, I would be, you can go to my website and here's where you can find the link for it. But there's a couple things. So one is we're doing just pivot within sessions. And so if that's something that you're looking at, how do I actually like start and launch my business, and what would be the offering and what would that be like as an entrepreneur? I can help walk you through that. And that is complimentary. So during this COVID time, so you can take advantage of that. And then also we have a Yin Within membership group starting up as well, which would nurture you in that regard as well.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anna, so much. I so appreciate you being here. And kind of as we round out the conversation, like we always do, go ahead and type in the chat box your takeaway from today's Magnificent Monday session. What are your takeaways from today? What are you guys taking away? And as you're typing those in, Melissa, I love it. You create your own reality. So true. So true. We all do. As you're typing those in, next Magnificent Monday on the 1st of June, can't believe it's June already, we're going to be talking about the hero's journey. And Melissa and I are going to dive into all the layers of the hero's journey and what it looks like and how to actually roll through the hero's journey with ease and grace. So beautiful. And Adrienne, thank you. Conscious of my thoughts and how it affects others, Audra. Oh, it went too fast. Viewing things in a proactive way. Love it. Christiana, to be still to move through what you are struggling with. Tammy, I just love you participating too. Thank you for being here. Ingrid, insight into how I became more aware of my angst and pain, embracing it, shifting it, and dissipate it. Love it. Yeah, Dirk, the levels of consciousness linked to the levels of cultures. It's all connected, right? We are all interconnected, and who we are as leaders and how we show up is really how we create the school environments and the cultures that we live and breathe in. So it's important, again, whether it's virtual or in person, we are all impacting this. And as conscious educators, it's up to us to evolve and grow and to really take this responsibility for who we're showing up as, because that's what we can control. So your appreciation for today, first of all, mine for all of you, is for being here. And thank you, Anna, so much for your depth of wisdom and what you brought to this conversation today. I am so grateful for you, not only as a friend, but also as a colleague doing this work in the world. Grateful for you being here.
Are you too?
And Melissa, as always, being here and being my partner in crime throughout this crazy journey of life in so many different ways. And all of you who continue to show up with us on Magnificent Mondays, we have the brand new Educator Dynamics website getting ready to launch. It should be launching on Monday, so that will be the big announcement coming. You guys are getting the sneak peek of that. And big kudos to Audra, who has been helping me on the back end with the content and beautifully wordsmithing everything. I could not be doing this without you. Super grateful. So thank you, my dear. And for the rest of you, I would love for you to take a micro moment today and reach out to someone that you have not yet connected with, but you think about. So that first person that you thought of when I said someone you haven't yet connected with, whoever that person is, I want you to reach out to them and pick up the phone and call them or get on FaceTime or video with them in some way and just tell them what you admire about them. Tell them what you're grateful for about them as a human. Make their day in some way, and I'm sure that they will return the favor. So love it, love it. Melissa, did you want to
jump in? I do, because you know me. I just have to share this. So I have a task for all of you this week. I invite you all, first of all, if you haven't seen the movie We Bought a Zoo, I invite you to watch the movie We Bought a Zoo. And one thing that follows up with that movie is there's a line in the scene when Matt Damon says to his son, it literally takes 20 seconds of radical bravery to change the trajectory of your life. So I invite you this week, think of one thing that literally takes 20 seconds of radical bravery and just do it. So if it's something that you're going to go to do and then you're like, oh no, and you kind of revert back, that's the thing. That's the 20-second, I call it the butt pucker. You all know my language. I invite you to do something that takes radical bravery for you to potentially change the trajectory of your life. And as you go through these calls every single week with learning how to become an edupreneur, it is going to require you to get uncomfortable in a great way. to really rewire those neurons in those brains and really build that self-trust, that confidence, and really just tapping into that. So the more you practice a butt pucker a week, the more you trust yourself and allow yourself to experiment life in such a fun way. That's my takeaway.
Love it. Thank you so much, Mel. And just a side note, want to clarify that Melissa is saying butt pucker with a P. And so there's no confusion on what she's saying. It is with a P as in Paul. But pucker, there was some confusion on one of our last calls. Someone was like, what did I hear? What did I hear? So I just want to clarify. It is a pucker. It's one of those things that makes you go, ooh, that might be scary. So 20 seconds of courage, 20 seconds of bravery. Take that moment for yourself, really nudge yourself gently over the edge, and then catch yourself with love and grace and celebrate who you are. I adore you all. I am jumping back into the next webinar. Have a magnificent week, and we will see you next Monday. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.